I've been up for 4 days straight because of this wisdom tooth. The pain is unbearable, and the fever is making me feel crazy. It feels like the wisdom tooth in my jaw is pulsating with my heartbeat, and its root is growing longer and longer, almost piercing through my jawbone. I've been avoiding the dentist, but I can't take this anymore. I need to get this tooth out. At midnight like this, I was lucky to find a dental clinic on a quiet street. But why don't I have any impression of this clinic, even though I pass by this neighborhood every day? The inside of the clinic was cold and stuffy. There was only one nurse at the reception desk, her face almost completely covered by a large mask. I want to have my wisdom tooth pulled. Is Dr. John here? I want it done right away.
Of course. Dr. John is always ready to serve. But first, let me check your teeth.
The nurse's actions were so strange. It felt like her fingers were gently stroking my teeth as if examining a display item.
Your teeth are all very good.
Hey, that's rude.
You're too sensitive. This is just a basic examination. Dr. John is ready. Let me show you the way.
My anxiety was increasing. I hope it was just a side effect of the fever. The strange nurse led me to a room at the end of the corridor. The room was as big as the entire lobby outside, and the bright lights blinded me.
Hello, I'm Dr. John Hendricks. I'll take care of your dental problem.
I sat down in front of the consultation table and glanced around. At that moment, I heard the nurse whisper to Dr. John that I wanted my wisdom tooth pulled.
Well, we'll have to perform surgery to remove it.
Surgery? He decided to operate just because he listened to a nurse. He didn't even take an x-ray or check my health? Is he even a real doctor? This must be an illegal clinic. Sorry, my tooth doesn't hurt anymore. I'll go now.
No, your tooth needs to be pulled.
This is my tooth. You can't decide for me. The two scammers finally showed their true colors, and I fought back. I accidentally knocked off the nurse's mask, and her horrifying face appeared. She had a mouth like a praying mantis, with only bleeding gums and no teeth. I screamed, and at that moment, the doctor appeared and restrained me from behind. I struggled but couldn't escape. The monster slowly approached me. He used its bare hands to pull out my 2 front teeth. The pain was excruciating. Before my eyes, it used its bloody teeth to plug the empty sockets in its own mouth. At that moment, I realized I was dealing with something not human. Let me go! I'll give you anything you want!
Don't worry, we just want your teeth.
The crazy doctor injected me with anesthetic, but he didn't wait for it to take effect before starting to pull my teeth. I felt my head being jerked, and my jaw joint was shaking with each jerk. Then I heard a sickening crack. My jaw was broken. I screamed and cursed at the horrible doctor, but he didn't care. He was only interested in my wisdom tooth. I thought the surgery was over, until the nurse came in holding a tray with 32 strange animal-shaped teeth, exactly the number of teeth in my mouth. The crazy doctor put my wisdom tooth into the empty tray, then picked up an animal tooth. He planted that disgusting tooth into the hole where he had just pulled my tooth out. He pulled out another tooth and replaced it with an animal tooth. One by one, my teeth were replaced. I was overwhelmed by pain, blood loss, and dizziness. I could only endure. I don't know how long it had been, but after seemingly being satisfied with his work, the crazy doctor finally released me. I swore that if I ever got out of that hellhole, I would make those bastards pay. Enduring the pain in my mouth, I took out my phone to call the police. But when I turned around to check the building's address, there was only an empty lot, and no one else was there but me. A terrible fear overwhelmed me. I put on a mask to hide my horrifying teeth and went to a pharmacy to buy some medicine to stop the bleeding. After returning from the bizarre dental clinic, I could feel the animal teeth digging deep into my jaw, and they were continuing to grow longer and longer.
Here's your medicine.
Even though I couldn't see it, I could feel that my face looked terrifying. The strange animal teeth were growing longer, piercing through my jaw, through my tongue, and out of my mouth. And blood was pouring out of my mouth. I tried to run away to avoid the strange looks of the people around me. Suddenly, a military vehicle appeared and blocked my way. They treated me like a strange creature, but they were right. My current appearance was no longer that of a normal human.
Don't be afraid. You've been attacked by SCP-5150, and we will help you.
It might sound crazy, but if you asked me what the most important thing in my life is, I'd say it's bleach. Instead of perfume, I use bleach. It gives me the feeling of being completely clean. Looking at myself in the mirror, my skin glowing and flushed, I smile confidently and step out of the bathroom, starting another boring day at work. Maybe my obsession with bleach began when I started working at this convenience store. Growing up in an orphanage, I didn't have much education. So working as a cleaning staff at the convenience store seemed like the perfect choice. Ignoring the awful attitude of my co-workers here. Since childhood, I've been obsessed with cleanliness, always trying to keep everything around me spotless. Not a speck of dust in sight. Every day I clean the store with bleach, and seeing everything shine gives me happiness. But prolonged exposure to bleach has made my hands dry, swollen, and painfully sore. Beneath the cracked skin, though, I could see the pinkish-white layer of skin I'd always desired. A customer appeared, looking at me with a disgusted expression as if I was some kind of pest. That look again. It makes me want to scream, but I know I have to control myself. I continue wiping the glass, inhaling the bleach fumes to calm down. But trouble finds me anyway. My boss mentioned some customers complaining about the overwhelming bleach smell in the store and a bunch of other unreasonable issues. I sigh, realizing I'm being mistreated again. Though questions fill my mind, I meekly bow my head and apologize. Back home, I comfort myself with a bleach bath. My skin looks smoother and rosier by the day. All thanks to the bleach and its scent. I found that pouring bleach on my wrists makes the smell linger, so I soaked a cloth in bleach to keep with me at all times. Now they've demoted me to cleaning the restrooms. Fine, at least I won't have to deal with people. But why is there no bleach in the restroom? Then, Amy's annoying voice rings out.
Looking for this?
Looking at her smug face, it's clear she's caught on to something and is trying to take my bleach.
The boss asked me to monitor your bleach use to keep this place from smelling awful. So a little bit should be enough, right?
Of course, she's targeting me. What did I do wrong? But a little bleach and a wipe isn't enough. I used up all of it within one morning. When the air was clean without a trace of bleach, I felt suffocated, dizzy. A wave of fear engulfed me. I needed bleach immediately. I sneaked back into the store and went to the cleaning supply aisle. While no one was watching, I grabbed a bottle of bleach and took a deep breath, feeling as though I had come alive again. I realized then that bleach had become an irreplaceable part of my life. But what I hadn't expected was that someone had been recording my every move, and now it's evidence to condemn me. But what am I guilty of? I'm addicted to bleach. So what? I haven't hurt anyone, yet here I am, treated like a scourge of society.
Jesus Christ! You should just quit and stop scaring people here.
Amy must be the one who reported me. The more I endured, the more she pushed me, so I stopped caring and lunged at her like a wild animal. The fight only ended when the police arrived and took me away. I felt like a rat in the sewer, shunned and isolated. Obviously, Amy started the whole thing, but she walks free while I'm locked up with no one to care or vouch for me. I wonder, if I were white, would I be humiliated like this? I doubt it. I decided that I would bleach my skin. After a long day in jail, I paid my fines and the store's compensation, and I was released. I used all my meager savings to order a few barrels of bleach to my home. Each bottle was poured into the bathtub, filling it. The air was thick with bleach wrapping around me. Looking at the shimmering yellow-green liquid in the tub, I cried tears of joy. To me, bleach is a miracle elixir. With it, I can change the skin color I despise. I slowly stepped into the tub, and a burning sensation engulfed my entire body. I told myself that if I endured just a bit of pain, I could have a new life. But the pain grew unbearable. I felt my flesh melting. I screamed in agony, emerging from the water. Before me was a tub filled with red. Horrified, I stood up, trying to step out. As soon as my feet touched the floor, an excruciating pain tore through me. Looking in the mirror, I saw my body dripping with blood and fluid, skin melting away. Tears streamed down as I reached for my phone to call for help. But before the ambulance arrived, I blacked out in pain, swallowed by endless darkness.
911. What's your emergency?
Where's my child?
I was desperate. Rent was due, bills were piling up, and I had no job prospects. When I saw the posting for a night guard position at West Market, I jumped at it. The pay was decent and the store was only a few blocks away. What could possibly go wrong? The store itself was old, a relic from another time, tucked away in a crime-ridden part of town. The sign was faded, the windows coated with dust, and the lights flickered like they were on their last legs. Mr. Briggs, the manager, greeted me with a half smile and handed me a list of rules.
Follow these carefully. If you break them, well, let's just say it won't end well.
I skimmed the rules, finding them bizarre, but I nodded along. I needed the money, and I wasn't about to question his strange instructions. 1. Patrol the store every half hour. You may spend the rest of your time in the break room, monitoring the security cameras. 2. Do not go down aisle 7. Do not look down aisle 7. 3. If you hear knocking from the freezers, ignore it. 4. If you see a shopping cart that hasn't been put away, return it to the front of the store. 5. If you find a pool of blood in the meat aisle, clean it up, but don't step in it or touch it directly. 6. If you see a woman in the store, go to the break room and stay there until she leaves. Do not make eye contact with her. 7. Do not, under any circumstances, end your shift early. I laughed nervously as I read the last rule. Sounds like you've had some weird nights here, I joked, but Mr. Briggs didn't smile. His gaze was hard, almost haunted.
Just follow the rules.
The first patrol was uneventful. The flickering lights and the eerie silence set my nerves on edge, but everything seemed fine. I avoided aisle 7 like the plague, though I couldn't help but feel an odd pull toward it. Every time I passed it, there was an unsettling heaviness in the air, as if the aisle was holding its breath, waiting for something or someone. 30 minutes later, I started my second patrol. The store felt darker, more oppressive, as if the walls were closing in. As I reached the frozen food section, I heard it, knocking. It was faint, rhythmic, coming from within the freezers. My heart raced, I took a step closer, tempted to open the door, but the rule flashed in my mind. Ignore it. I turned away, my hands trembling. On my way back, I noticed a shopping cart sitting in the middle of an aisle. I could have sworn it hadn't been there before. I pushed it back to the front of the store, but as I did, I felt something slick on my hand. Blood. I looked down in horror. My fingers were coated in a thick, sticky substance. My heart pounded in my chest as I wiped it off on my pants, trying not to panic. Then I saw it, a pool of blood in the meat aisle. It was spreading slowly, a dark red stain against the floor. I remembered the rule. Don't step in it. Don't touch it. I ran to the storage closet, grabbed a mop and bucket and cleaned the mess as quickly as I could. But the more I mopped, the more blood there seemed to be. My stomach churned, but I finished the job, my hands shaking. Back in the break room, I found an old notebook stashed in a drawer. It was a journal left behind by previous guards. Flipping through the pages, I read about strange occurrences. Carts moving on their own, eerie knocks from the freezers, and the woman. Every entry mentioned her. Then I found it, the story of Mrs. Smith. She had lost her son in the store, gunned down by robbers in aisle 7. After that, she went mad, convinced he was still alive, keeping him from getting lost again. But when she realized he was truly gone, she started taking out her grief and rage on anyone who dared to break the rules. Suddenly, I heard footsteps, and then stopped. For a moment, I thought I was safe. But then the curiosity hit me like a wave. I had to know if she was still there. I looked at the camera back to aisle 7. That's when I saw her. A woman, her hair disheveled, her clothes torn, stood at the end of the aisle, cradling something in her hands. No, not something. A gun. The same one the robbers had used to kill her son. I felt her eyes bore into me through the screen. Cold, hollow, filled with hate. I had made eye contact. I had broken the rule. Her lips curled into a snarl and she moved. Fast. My body acted on instinct. I threw the door open and ran. Her footsteps were loud, echoing through the store, chasing me. A gunshot rang out, the bullet barely missing my head. I zigzagged between aisles trying to stay ahead of her, but she was relentless. Another shot. I ducked behind a shelf, then another. The bullets whizzed past me, and I knew I wouldn't last much longer. I couldn't end my shift early. The rule! The goddamn rule! But I had to get out of there. My only chance was to trick her. With my heart hammering in my chest, I lured her toward the back of the store. Her eyes gleamed with madness, her fingers trembling on the trigger. Just as she fired the last shot, I dived out of the way, and the bullet shattered the lock on the back door. The door swung open and I bolted through it, stumbling into the night. I didn't stop running until my legs gave out. When I finally looked back, the store was quiet again, dark and still. But I knew it wasn't over. West Market still stood, hiding its secrets in the shadows. And Mrs. Smith, she was still there, waiting for her next victim.